We're ringing in the new year here at the Little Lake. And now that the deep freeze has officially set in, I've got a few tips and tricks that are sure to get you some extra bites from those super cold fish. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one.
There we go, I got him.
You got him?
Yeah, oh, he feels good. He feels good.
Makes me kind of like a just a net. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing and Happy New Year. Happy 2024. Here's hoping you catch your PB this year. And here's hoping that you learn as much about bass angling as you possibly can. That's my New Year's resolution every single year. Not just to catch my PB, but to learn as much about the sport of bass fishing as I possibly can. Because, you know, as long as I've been doing this, for as many decades as I've been doing this, well, you know, I'm still learning. And I imagine I will continue to learn probably for the rest of my life. But before we get into things, and I've got some really good tips for you today, some excellent winter tips for you, I've got an important announcement that I think a lot of you are going to be excited about. See, big things are coming for old Lowbrow in 2024. And that's right, I've decided, at the request of many of you, to go ahead and kick off selling my baits, my soft plastics and my jigs. Lowbrow Baits is going to be going online officially in early 2024. I'll be offering handcrafted, handmade jigs and handmade soft plastic baits. You know, it's going to be small batch, limited runs at first, but whenever we get things going and we get the ball rolling, we'll see what happens. We'll expand things from there. So I'm really excited about that. So when things go live, you'll know about it here first. Look for that early this year. So, and do me a favor. How about setting the hook on that subscribe button and changing the color and hitting that like button while you're down there? We really appreciate the growth that we've seen in the past year. And another goal that we'd like to have is to capitalize on that and keep the ball rolling. So thank you very much. But as I was talking about before, you know, wintertime, we are now in the coldest part of the year. No matter what part of the country you're in, January is going to be the deep freeze. That's what's going to be the coldest. And those bass are going to get super cold, super lethargic. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some great fishing to be had out there. There can be some excellent fishing to be had out there. You just have to adjust your process. And one of the biggest ways I'm doing that, well, I'm putting the crankbaits down. I'm putting the spinnerbaits down. I'm putting the chatterbaits down. And I'm going slow, slow, slow. You know, you guys remember I was showing you about, well, jerkbaits, like this little Rebel Minnow. You know, I'm going slow with it. I'm going small with it. I'm not using a bigger, say, 110 or 112 size jerkbait. I've actually gone down to something like this, and I'm twitching it very slowly, and I'm letting it come back up to the surface, and I'm twitching it very slowly, and I'm letting it come back up to the surface. Those bass right now are so slow and lethargic, they just don't have the energy to chase something for an extremely long time. And another technique that's been working well for me, obviously, is the soft plastic jerkbait. You guys know that I have had quite a bit of success on these, especially lately. I've been working them very slowly, a couple of twitches, let them sail through that water, and then they'll kind of dive down and they'll fall and they'll lay on the bottom. And I'll let them dead stick there for a few seconds before I twitch them again. And you know, in the past few videos you've watched, I've had a good bit of success working those soft plastic jerkbaits. But the main thing, the main star of the show out here at the Little Lake, well, was that Ned rig amalgamation that I came up with. You guys remember that Bass Pro Shops Ned head that I bought, right? It's the finesse style. It's got the arrow head, teardrop shaped head, but it's got the line tie on top. Now, I've paired it with one of my worms, one of those spearmint colored worms that I have cut down. And the reason why I've done that is because, well, those fish were so slow. Those fish were so lethargic today that you could barely feel those bites. Whenever they were hitting it, you would have to really let them have it. You know, I got quite a few bites today, but I only ended up catching 4 fish. I had 8 to 10 bites, but they were so soft. They were so subtle. It was very hard to get them to commit. And when they did commit, well, they didn't inhale it all the way. They just did not have the energy. So whenever you have your bait in the water, and trust me, right now a Ned rig is a perfect tool. That's how small I'm going. That's how subtle I'm going. So something like that little Ned rig is going to be perfect. And whenever you're leaving it in the water, sit still with it. Don't get cutesy with it. Be calm, be collected, be patient. Let that bait sit there. Let those fish have it. Like I said, those bites are so faint. You've really got to feel it.
So I got him. I knew there was one in there. He's not a great big guy, but sometimes that just, you know, this is what I was talking about. Boy, that fish is cold, cold, cold. What I was talking about, you know, 3/4 of a pound. We knew he was in there, but you have to make multiple casts sometimes on an area. You have to make multiple casts on an area, and that was on our little Ned riggy duty. All right, appreciate it, little buddy. Let's go to the next one.
A lot of times you want to put that string over your finger, right? So you can feel that little tick, tick, tick of those bass inhaling that bait, or at least biting it. That's what I had to do a lot of times today. Once I realized, hey, these fish are super slow. These fish are super cold. They're not in the mood. They don't really have a lot of strength. Well, that's when I had to let that bait sit there for an extra long time. And I really had to let those fish take that bait all the way in before setting the hook, because I lost 2 or 3 fish, a couple of nicer ones, especially for the little lake here. I lost a couple of nicer fish simply because I was too impatient. I didn't set the hook. You know, I set the hook too early, and that caused me to lose those fish. Now, another thing that you want to do is you have to make multiple casts. In the summertime, we're talking about covering water. We're talking, you know, kick that trolling motor on, burn across the water, make casts, make targeted casts, cover water, fan casts, cover water. That's what we're talking about. But in the wintertime, well, when you find a spot, you find a laydown, you find a brush pile or a dock, make multiple casts, because I'm telling you, it's going to be holding fish a lot of the time. And if you are positive that it's holding fish, make multiple casts, 5, 10, sometimes 15 casts. I had to do that today in order to catch 1 or 2 fish out of one area. That's wintertime fishing. That's just how things are going to be right now. You have to make multiple casts in one area to trigger those fish. So slow things down, be calm with it. And I'm telling you, you will be rewarded. When you're looking to make those targeted casts, like we talked about, we're looking for, you know, in clear water, we're looking for places that have got rock piles, places that have got where the sun can warm it up, especially shallow. If we're fishing out deep, we know those fish are going to be a bit suspended. Chances are they're not going to have their belly all the way in the mud. So something like a drop shot can really be effective. Something that you can just let sit there, let the current do most of the work for you, and you'd be surprised at the number of bites you can get. But again, like I said, they're going to be extremely subtle. They're going to be extremely soft. You are going to have to be patient, and when you feel it, make sure that that bass has that bait all the way before you set the hook. Otherwise, you'll do the same thing that I did, which is you'll end up losing more fish than you're catching because you're rushing it. So slow down, right? Isolate where those fish are at. Up near the bank, they're probably going to have their bellies in the mud just a bit more because, well, they're looking for warmth. And in the summertime, we know they're going to be looking for shade, and we know they're going to be going out deep because that's where the cooler water is. But in the wintertime, we know they're going to be looking for sun, and a lot of times they will still be going out deep because that deeper water will be warmer than the air temperature is, so those bass will want to get down away from it. Now, whenever you're fishing up close to the bank, it's not going to be as hard to cover all the water column. You can drag a worm, you can use something like a swim jig, you can use something like that in those areas because you don't have 4 or 5 feet of water to cover. And those bass, for the most part, are still willing to go that far. But their strike zone does shrink. It does shrink considerably. So you are going to have to get that bait a lot closer to the fish. And when you do that and you kind of let that bait kind of hold right there in front of their face for a while, I'm telling you, if it's an irresistible morsel, they will take it. And you'll end up catching some really nice fish. Although it is going to be rough at times. There's no getting around it. The fish are there. The fish are sluggish. You can get quite a few bites. Actually, those fish are not opposed to biting your lure. You just have to pay a lot more attention, as a lot of times, they're actually looking for an easy meal now more than ever. Right now is when they're really looking for those easy meals, something they don't have to chase. And if you put it in front of their face, they will go after it, but you've got to target them, you've got to be able to find them, and you've got to be slow enough to allow them to get it. Once you master those things, and it doesn't take long, it's just a little bit of practice, right? We've already talked about where to find those bass. We already talked about where they're going to be. And we've already talked about the types of slow techniques and presentations that we can use to entice them. So if you put those things together, I'm telling you, you can actually have a really great winter on the water. You may not be catching 50 fish a day, but you can reward yourself with 4 or 5 or even 6 good fish in a matter of a few hours. And hey, that's better than not going fishing at all, because anything's always better than not going fishing at all. So there you have it. Fishing in the deep freeze of winter can be easy. You can still catch quite a few numbers of fish because those fish are willing to bite. You just have to do it on their terms. Make it small enough for them, make it slow enough for them, and be patient. Once you do those things, you'll be surprised at how many really nice fish you can catch. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.